So what we're going to do today is we're going to work on some salmon, some grilled salmon. And not only can you grill it, you can also plank it. So let's talk about the planks first. With your planking, what you want to do is you want to soak your plank in water. And you want to use ice cold water and leave it in the refrigerator for the first treatment for 24 hours. Then after that, every time you want to use it, soak it for another 4 hours before you use it. Now, when keeping and storing your planks, what you want to do is wash them and then dry them off really nicely, but do not stack them on top of each other and put them away in your drawer, because if you put them away in there and this is stacked on top of each other with the warm temperatures in your kitchen, it will mold up on you. So what I normally do is wash them properly and then put them on top of a paper towel and just have them hanging right up against that wall so they could dry out for about 24 hours, and then it's okay and safe to put this away. This way, treating it for 24 hours and 4 hours after that, every other use, it's going to give you more life, and you can use about maybe 4 times or so versus once. Just make sure you follow the proper procedures to keeping it clean and dry right after they come off the grill. So that's how you would treat something like this. For planking, what you want to do is grab your plank, and once you have your plank, you want to coat it with some grapeseed oil on the top and the bottom. Just lightly coat it with some grapeseed oil. This is going to produce a little bit of flame on that grill, and it's going to get this smoking pretty quick. Hit the top off. A little more grapeseed oil. And then we want to season our fish. We want our grill at least at a medium heat before we add that plank on there. So I'm going to leave this open for a little bit, and we're going to go ahead and season our fish real quick. Normally when it comes to salmon, people overcook it very easy, and one of the things is temperature. The proper internal temperature for your salmon when it's done should be at least 125 degrees, and you need to rest it for about 5 or 10 minutes so it could come up to temperature. While resting for about 5 or 10 minutes, it's going to carry over cooking for another 5 or 10 degrees. It's going to go up, so keep that in mind. On our salmon today, we are going to be using some of John Henry's Papa Charlie's Greek Rub. I'm going to coat the top. We're going to rub it down to make sure it gets some flavor into that piece of meat there. I'm going to flip it over here. Make sure that the other side gets some love too. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add some oil to this, and we're going to use some grapeseed oil. This is going to keep it from sticking. So we're going to grab this fish here, keep it together. And one way to notice when to stick your thermometer into your fish is when it starts releasing the proteins out of it, and that's that white stuff. Once you see a little bit of that white stuff coming out of your fish, you're ready to check the internal temperature with your thermometer. So don't have too much of that white stuff coming out, because if you have too much of that white stuff coming out, it's basically your protein leaching out of your salmon, and it means that your salmon is drying out a little bit too fast, and you're going to have a really dry piece of salmon. I'm going to drop these on here, on correct heat, medium heat, and this place is going to start smelling like a really nice sauna. While that's going in there, we're going to start on our couscous. For our couscous, we're going to have some water. We're going to bring this water to a boil real quick. We're going to add a little saffron in here. To the saffron and the water, we're going to add a little bit of lime juice in there. Give you some bright flavors. You don't necessarily have to use saffron in there, but it is going to give it a really nice aroma and flavor. While we're doing this, we're going to talk about thermometers. These are specifically for different needs, except for these two. I mean, between the two, people have asked me which one you think works better. they both work really well. I'll use whatever's in front of me. However, if you want something that's going to be a lot more accurate and pinpoint on temperature, you want to use a digital thermometer. Now with the manual thermometer, you're going to have to go in there and kind of see where it's at, and there are a little bit smaller numbers. So if you have trouble reading tiny numbers like this, then something like this is something that you might want to get. The manual thermometer does not have a battery, so it might last you a little bit longer than the one that has a battery. This one you might have to replace that battery here and there. And when it comes to this one right here, which is a digital wireless thermometer, this one's for meats, bigger pieces of meat like prime rib. The best thing about these is you set this in your grill on indirect heat, and you leave this in your prime rib there, and you set this to medium rare, which is 125 degrees. You close that grill, you forget about it, and then you just go do the rest of your prep, and then this is going to beep when that's ready. So you don't have to open that grill and check. Open and check. Every time you open and close, you're letting air out, and it's going to take a little bit longer for that meat to finish. And you don't have to keep on poking it and allowing moisture to leach out all the time. We're going to check our salmon real quick, see where it's at. And you start smelling that maple wood kind of smoking. We're going to grab our thermometer and see where the temperature is at right now. And it's not going to take a long time. It should be ready pretty soon here. It's going to take another maybe 5 minutes or so. Well, that one's going right there. We can definitely grab our cous, and what we're going to do is we're going to add a little salt to this water. We're going to add a little black pepper to our water. We're going to quickly taste our water, see where our flavor's at. That's perfect. Then we're going to grab this water, throw it into our cous. We're going to add just a touch of olive oil in there. Now we're going to grab our plastic wrap. We're going to cover this up here with plastic wrap, and this should continue cooking the cous and not overcook it. So we're going to leave that right there and forget about it. We're going to grab our salmon from the back of our grill real quick, which should be done here remotely. It's smoking really nicely. Put this on there real quick. Right now it is at 120 degrees. We're going to leave it on that plank right there, and it should cook another 5 degrees within the next 5 minutes or so. So we're going to forget about that for a second. This leaks here on the right hand side, that's a Pro Sear 1. And that sear burner is going to get up to about 1,100 degrees. It's intense heat, and that's what I want. I just want to give a really nice crust on that show side. You don't want to flip it over until you really get a really nice crust on the bottom. So you're going to have to go in there with your spatula to keep your eye on it, and then flip it. If you notice that the inside is still a little bit raw, and you don't want to burn the outside, the top, or the bottom, then you're going to have to use a upper deck technique, which is what I call this. Mostly people call this the bun rack. But I'll call this an upper deck because you can just, it's more than just for buns. You can put your meat on there. You can put your salmon on there. So we're going to check our salmon real quick, see where our crust is at. And we're getting a really nice crust on the bottom. We're going to go ahead and leave it on there another second. Move it off that sear burner, put it on the left-hand side. I do still have this left-hand side on high heat. I'm going to flip this over really quick here. Get a real nice crust on there. Once we have this, keep in mind this is still on high heat. We want to remove this from the upper deck. From the bottom rack and put it on the upper deck. Close this real quick. Forget about it. Now it's going to give you a nice crust on the top and bottom, and it's going to cook to its final temperature. Real quick, you're going to let it rest for about 5-10 minutes. And this is a perfect upper opportunity to start plating your dish up and grabbing your couscous. For your couscous, what you need to do is you're going to have to come in here and fluff it. You're going to have to grab yourself a couple of forks. You're going to go in here and just fluff this couscous properly. I'm going to taste this real quick. Ah, baby. That is sexy. Pour it right on the center of a plate. We're going to grab our salmon. Get our salmon right on top of it. Go ahead and squeeze some of this lime juice right on top of this. I'm going to grab a little sea salt. Top this off with a little bit of sea salt. And of course, we're going to need some olive oil right now. Just put a little olive oil right on top of there. And we're all set with our dish. Enjoy.